The average dental practice is losing $103,000 every single time they hire a new hygienist. And if you think that sounds crazy, it's because you're tracking your job board feeds on Indeed only, and you're not even calculating in the lost production and the time it takes for someone to get ramped up and onboarded. Most dentists, we treat recruiting like a chore. It's just something extra we have to do to get the people in the chairs to do their jobs. But we need to treat more patients, and we need to treat it like getting new patients. Your job is an ad, and it's an ad to recruit new patients. Your applicants are new patients, and your interview, treat that as a treatment plan presentation. So today I'm going to show you how to build a talent machine so you never have to make a desperate hire again. Let's dive into the math. So first, I want to show you what the math truly looks like. And so here, this is our bonded talent cost to acquire talent calculator. Now, you can put in any role. You could put in if you're hiring an associate, a hygienist, a dental assistant, or a front desk. And so we're going to use this hygienist example here for a moment. Now, the average cost, if you look at the national average, is between $5,000 and $10,000 all in for the amount of money you're going to spend in finding a hygienist to work for you. And so we're going to go on the low end. We're going to assume that you're spending about $5,000 to recruit a hygienist. And typically that role takes about 90 days to fill on average. Could be a little less, could be a little bit more, but that's the average in the United States. And that role typically is able to produce about $875 in profit for the practice daily. Now, you can change these numbers if you want. You can get this calculator at bonded-dental.com. The link will be also in the description below. But as we ran this calculator, your total cost, including production and lost production time over the days that they were out and that role was empty, and the amount of time it took them to get fully ramped up to full speed in your office, is $103,000, $438. That is a lot of money that we are just hemorrhaging, and it's going to take 118 days for you to recoup that money to get them all up to speed. So we have got to change that. That's not an acceptable number to have at all. So we need to have a couple definitions that we are going to describe as we are going to discuss how are we going to fix that problem. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss how do we decrease just that $5,000 cost and the amount of time that position is vacant. So those are the two categories that we're going to focus on today of how do we cut those numbers down to not hemorrhage so much money in the practice. So a couple key definitions that we need to discuss first and talk about and have a mindset shift on of what these definitions are. So when we say a job ad, what we really need to think of that as is it's an actual ad. We are trying to run an ad to get someone to come in and know about our office. Job applicants, we need to view them as new patients. They are the same, and we need to treat them almost the same as a new patient. When we do a job interview, we need to treat that as a treatment plan presentation. And we're discussing with a new patient. Though we want those to be almost a synonym in our eyes. And then when we hire someone, that's when someone accepts a treatment plan. So the question isn't, how do I find the one unicorn that works in my office? It's going to stay after I leave and is going to take care of the practice and take care of my patients. It's how do I build a machine that way I can have new patients coming in all the time. Okay. So today what we're going to do is we are going to build a funnel. How do we build a funnel to build a recruiting formula that we can always return back to? And that way we are in demand as the practice and we're not desperately trying to hire someone. So the first thing we're going to do, let me pull up my screen here. We are going to build a funnel, and forgive my poor drawing here. We are going to build a funnel. And down here is our practice. So, have you guys ever felt like this? Because I felt like this before, where you have an assistant quit kind of abruptly, or a hygienist quit, and you have an opening, or you have an opening coming up in a couple months or a week, and you put your ad out on Indeed or have a recruiter and you're getting nothing, or you're getting 20 to 30 resumes, but all of them are really bad. And some of them are these generic ones that Indeed sends you, and you reach out, no one gets back to you. You have 15 that you've reached out to and no one even responds. And then the one person that responds says, I really like I'm 40 years old and I live in my mom's and dad's basement. And so you hire the first person out of desperation that kind of has a pulse, and they start working in the practice, and you're like, this is not working at all. And so what we want to do is we want to flip that and have you be the star of the show. Now, your office is the prize, and you have 20 different people that are vying for your job at your office, and there's only one opening. Okay. So at the top of the funnel here, we have our magnet. All right. And so what we're going to do is we need to attract people to our job. And so how are we going to attract people to our job? We are going to use job boards such as Indeed. We're going to use Bonded, which is the new app that we created to help you find higher quality candidates. You're going to use social media. You're going to use Facebook, Instagram. You're going to use your email list for your patients. Blast your patients and say, hey, we are hiring. Do you know of anyone that would be a good fit? You could talk to the waiter you meet at the restaurant. I've found a couple people that way. And then you could get referrals. Always asking for referrals. So those are like the 5 core ways that you're going to find someone, but you need to have a call to action in when you reach out on those different platforms. A good example of that would be if you've done X before and want Y, apply here. So applying that to many dental practices, you could say, if you have good social skills and are friendly and want to work in the dental field, apply here. And you want this to be very low friction. You just want them to fill out a 1 or 2 page question thing, comment or send a DM to you. And that is kind of the first step. We don't want to make this a super high barrier step. We want this to be low barrier. And you're not necessarily eliminating people here. You're just trying to get as many people in your funnel at this point as possible. And we're going to filter them later on down the road. So everyone who passes through this basic funnel that passes your couple questions that you had will get what we call a group interview. So I'm just going to put G interview. Give my terrible computer writing. All right. So this is step 2. And the reason why we want to do a group interview first is we want to filter out the crazies, and we want to filter out the people that present well in a one-on-one situation and lie through their teeth. And we want to kind of put them in an environment that's more of a social test. Because in offices, we want people that are high performers. And what better way to see if they're a high performer is to put them up against one another. So we need to test for energy, communication, and competitiveness side by side. So the best way to do this is to have a group interview. And here's exactly how you're going to do it. You are going to have 5 to 10 people come in for a 30 to 60-minute interview. Now, the way this works best is if you have more people, so preferably 10, and you're instantly going to know who the top 1, 2 people are because they will stand out. And you're not going to waste hours of time doing one-on-ones with this formula. So here's the format of how you're going to do your interview. First, you're going to set expectations for the first 5 to 10 minutes. All right. And what you're going to do is you're going to say who you guys are as a practice, what their role is going to be, what the standards are, what the expectations are for that individual, and what you guys are trying to accomplish. Tell them your goals of where you're going and give them your practice vision. After that, you are going to do a quick intro and you're going to have them introduce themselves for 30 to 60 seconds. They're going to give their name, their background, and why they are here. And you're listening for clarity, ownership, and hunger. Those are the three things that you're looking for: clarity, ownership, and hunger. All right. And then what you're going to do after that is you're going to do a simple 1 or 2 role plays that is going to give you a better idea of how they interact and how they communicate. Okay. So you can say, tell me about a time when blah, blah, blah. Or I like to have them go to an operatory and they role play out taking a health history or something like that with a new patient. There's lots of different things you can do, and I encourage you to get creative with that. Then after that, you're going to sort, okay? And the sorting process is super duper simple. It's green, yellow, and red. Now, when you do green, yellow, red, here's what you're going to do. Greens are people that you want to have back for a one-on-one interview to go deeper, okay? Yellow means that they were okay. You might want to keep them in your funnel for later if you need to hire someone later on down the road and you're going to keep them warm. And then reds, you're totally going to cut. You're going to eliminate them from your hiring pipeline, okay? And then from there, we are going to go to our one-on-one interview. Now, one thing I want to highlight here, though, before we fully move on to the one-on-one, is the importance of this constant pipeline. So in other industries outside of dentistry, they are constantly interviewing and constantly hiring. And this is where I think this is where we're kind of behind as a group, because we should always be looking. And that's how Apple and Google and big companies like that always get the best talent. And you want to be the office that gets the best talent in your area consistently. Think about this as well. Let's say you're in the NFL, and one of the things about the NFL is they are always looking for the next person, even to replace a Hall of Famer. So, for example, Aaron Rodgers, who was the quarterback previously on the Green Bay Packers, he still plays today, but a couple years back, they drafted Jordan Love, who is another quarterback, when it didn't look like Aaron Rodgers was going to retire. It didn't look like he was slowing down, but they drafted him anyway, just to be prepared for the next thing so they didn't have to take a step back when Aaron Rodgers was going to retire. And that ended up playing out very well for them. So this is just like us. For recurring, we need to have recurring group interviews whether we are hiring or not. And this is super important to do. Now, depending on the size of your practice, or if you have multiple practices you're working with, you're going to change how often you do this. But what I'd recommend is every couple months to every quarter or 6 months, you are going to run a group interview. And you don't have to run it. You can have your office manager run it or someone else on your staff run it. But you are going to have a monthly, or quarterly group interview. And this can be over Zoom or it can be in person. But you need to continually fill this funnel, because you are going to find when you are not looking for someone is when you find the very best person. Happens all the time. So always feed that funnel, and you're going to find that you always have the best people in your practice, or you can have them on the side. And when they're ready and when you have a job opening, you're ready to rock and roll. So step 4, we need to do our one-on-one interview. Now here, this is where you're going to do your classic interview. You're going to ask your questions. You've already seen how they respond in a group setting. And this is where you're going to review your culture, review expectations, and confirm it's a good fit. And a lot of times this goes super smooth. All right. And then here we have our bench of people that are ready to hire. And often this is several people at this point. Okay. So we need to treat hiring like getting new patients and getting them to accept treatment. And so we should move from applicant to group interview to one-on-one, one-on-one to offers, offers to day one show. By doing this, we are going to have a much higher retention on the people that are coming into our practice to work for us. So find out where your leak is in this funnel. A lot of times it's that group interview. No one does a group interview, and I encourage you to try it out and just see if it works. See if it is a good fit for you, and then try doing group interviews when you're not hiring. Those two things alone are going to change the dynamic in your practice because you are going to find better people and people to totally change your office culture. If you are looking for more information like this and looking for the cost to acquire calculator that we showed in the beginning, click the link in the description below and come make a free account with Bonded to find your next hires today. Have a good one.